Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to get my girlfriend an expensive engagement ring? I've, 26 male, been with my girlfriend, 26 female, for 4 years, and we've recently been talking more and more about marriage. Although my girlfriend grew up relatively well off, by the time I've known her, she's been pretty low maintenance. She's never cared about designer brands, rarely buys new clothes, and the jewelry she owns was gifted to her. I have a decent job now, $80K a year, and I've been saving for a while. But growing up, my family didn't have a lot of money. My girlfriend and I have always seemed to be on the same page when it comes to saving money. I assumed she would be fine with a more affordable ring. When I started looking into rings, I discovered moissanite rings, which look similar to diamond rings but are much more affordable. I was looking at rings in the $1,500 to $1,800 range. When I mentioned this to her, she insisted she wanted a real diamond ring and sent me links to a bunch of diamond rings that she liked. The prices ranged from $6,500 to $10,000. I told her that I wasn't willing to spend that much. She seemed genuinely mad and said it wasn't that expensive. We got into a pretty big argument over it. I told her that it was ridiculous to ask me to spend that much, and that I thought she was more than reasonable than that. She said I was being cheap and that I could afford it, and that I was basically saying she wasn't worth it. I told her no one is worth a $10,000 ring. Eventually, my girlfriend said she didn't care and that I should get whatever ring I want, but she's clearly still mad, and I know this is going to be an ongoing argument. I'm a bit frustrated because this seems out of left field. I've always known marriage is super important to her, but I didn't realize she'd insist on a diamond ring. So I talked to my older sister about it, who, despite agreeing diamond rings were stupidly priced, sided with my girlfriend and said if I could afford it, she didn't see the big deal. She added that my girlfriend has done so much for me, and I was being an a-hole about this. What my sister means by my girlfriend doing so much for me is that she was really supportive when I was in a serious car accident 4 years ago. I broke multiple bones and required a few surgeries. Although where I live, most health care is covered, I was unable to work for a while and had expenses I wasn't able to pay. I had been dating my girlfriend for only 6 months at the time, and she was really there for me. I couldn't pay my rent, so she let me move in with her for free and help pay for a few expenses and for physical therapy I needed. She also helped me get a job with her uncle, who was the VP of an insurance company. It was an entry-level position, and I had a business degree, so it's not like I was unqualified. Obviously, I've thanked her for all she did for me, but it's not something we talk about much. I don't think I'm obligated to buy an expensive ring because she helped me out a few years ago. But if my own sister said this, I'm guessing my girlfriend must feel that way as well? Am I the a-hole here? You didn't communicate. There's a lot of these stories that I read. You just have to communicate with the person. She may be very almost thrifty about a lot of other stuff, but when it comes to the wedding, that's going to be different. It's probably going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and this wedding ring is going to also conversely be something that's going to last the rest of one of your lives anyway, if not both of them. So yeah, you needed to talk first about how you wanted the wedding to go before you started looking at rings. That's about it. That's about all I have to say about that. Story 2. Girl who has a restraining order against me got hired at the company I work at. I currently have a restraining order against me. Turns out the girl who has the restraining order against me just got hired at the company. I know this because I've seen her in the lobby of the building. She has told me that if I don't leave the job, she will call the cops on me. I probably won't be able to get another job at this time, especially with my background. Am I legally obligated to leave my job? What is the protocol in situations like this? Please leave legal advice only. I have already had plenty of psychiatric help. I really don't know. I mean, there could be a lot of ways this goes. This may be the only place she could have gotten a job, or it could have gone the other way and she actually might have targeted this person out of spite and gotten a job where he works at. I don't know any of the details. And again, I am not a legal person, so I can't give any advice. Maybe anybody else could give some advice on this. I'd consult a lawyer. I mean, yeah, I know you're looking for more legal advice before you consult a lawyer, but you're going to have to shell out for one, I think, in the long run. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for begging my girlfriend to uphold a sexist tradition so she can make a good first impression? I have a big family that's incredibly close. We have big family dinners every few months where we all meet at my great-grandfather's estate and eat together. Typically, how this works is that the women go cook for the time they're there and the men don't, which I am fully aware it's sexist as hell. That being said, I'm one of the youngest people in my family, and my protests mean literally nothing. Some of those women choose not to cook. However, this is usually met with a level of ostracizing. The women who don't cook live with long-term girlfriends, so they kinda already have a good family relationship doctored in. When I have seen new partners not cook, it's gone bad. Like completely ostracized, not speaking, cattiness, rudeness, etc. This dinner will be in 2 weeks, and my girlfriend was asked if she would attend. Initially, she said yes, which is great. I want for her to meet everyone, and for everyone to get used to her being around. But when I explained to her the tradition, she was understandably bothered. I told her that I understood where she's coming from. However, it was best for everyone if she just played along. I told her this isn't a permanent thing and that I'm only asking her to do this so that she can avoid bad treatment from the rest of the family. This is her first impression, and I don't think it's best if we cause waves. She told me that it's unacceptable and that if she has to do that, she will not be going. I've tried to find a compromise with her on this, but she won't budge and she's ticked at me. She told me that if I think it's acceptable to make her do this, I'm just as bad as everyone else. While my point is that she needs to make a good first impression. Am I the a-hole? Kind of. I mean, you're asking your partner to do something that she finds very uncomfortable. And yeah, even you realize that this is really kind of out of line. I mean, you said this isn't going to be for long, and this is going to be a big family tradition. So how do you not expect this to last longer? Is this going to count against her? Are people going to be catty to her if she decides not to attend? I think you'd want the good first impression to be something else, like you inviting the parents out to dinner or something like that. Kind of. But I can understand you're between your family and a person who you really care about. I know that can be tough. Story 4. Boss, think about whether you want to keep working here. Me. Okay, I don't. Nearly 2 years ago, I started working at company as their digital marketing person. After I started, it turned out that I was brought in to put out the fires left by my predecessor, the VP of Marketing, who had a team of 4, plus himself, spent over $1 million in 1 year and brought in 5 deals, 2 of them for under $10,000. As you can well imagine, after a performance like that, I had a lot of work to do, very little to do it with. Aside from 1 or 2 paid tools, everything else was to be done using free tools only. I'm gonna do some bragging here. I beat the previous year's figures in all categories with 10% of the budget. When I started, I thought Bossman, founder CEO, had a really good management style, saying things like, "Your successes are yours, your mistakes are mine, and the enemy of good is great. I don't expect perfection. I want you to make sure things work and get them done. In essence, I was allowed to run my own one-man department and outsourced freelancers. And as long as I was getting results, he left me alone. Since I was the only person on the marketing team, I also had to learn a large number of skills and platforms that weren't directly related to digital marketing. Not to say everything was perfect, but things were pretty good. One of the main things that weren't perfect was that Boss Man had serious anger management issues. As I said before, he left me alone, but I saw him blow up and fire other people for stupid stuff. He lost it at me too, once or twice, but he'd calm down after a couple of hours and things would be back to normal. If it looks like an abusive relationship, that's because looking back, that's exactly what it was. After the year came to an end, I approached the boss and initiated a performance review. I ran him through everything I had done in the past year, and he was pretty surprised at how much I had done with so little. I asked him for a raise, pointing out that I was currently making $8,000 a month in local currency. Average is $4,500 a month, when people with my now augmented skill set were making between $13,000 and $14,000 a month. I asked him for $12,000. He said he'd get back to me and never did. Every time I asked him about my raise, he had another excuse. After the last excuse, I began looking for something else. The other day we had a meeting, and it turns out that 2 months ago, I made a mistake. It wasn't a crucial mistake, and it was rectified within a few hours of discovering the mistake. No harm or damage was caused whatsoever to company, but Boss Man flipping lost it. I mean, slamming on tables, yelling for the whole office to hear, what have you. Then he said the magic words, "Pack up your things and go home. Think about whether you want to keep working here." So that's what I did. And 10 seconds later, I said, "No, I don't." I started packing my stuff up while he turned an even deeper shade of red and got even louder. Didn't answer him at all, just kept on packing up my things and saying goodbye to my colleagues. Turns out that being ignored really pushed his buttons, to the point where he started threatening to call security to have me removed, while I was actively removing myself and my things from the office. Here's the part where it gets beautiful. My country is very strict on employees' rights. Sorry, Americans, I feel your pain. His words and behavior are considered an improper dismissal. By law, he's required to give me 30 days' notice of dismissal, which he didn't. When he realized his mistake, he convened a pre-dismissal hearing, but it was already too late. He's opened himself up to a lawsuit, which I'm already talking with lawyers about. Because by law, he has to give me those 30 days' notice even though he already fired me. For the next 30 days, I'm eligible to all the benefits and social rights in my salary. But I can do jack for him, and there's nothing he can do to me without making the incoming lawsuit 10 times worse. I've already got 4 interviews lined up for next week, paying almost double what boss was paying me. And best of all, I'll be interviewing for other places on his dime. The cherry on top is that because I'm the only marketing person, without me, nothing happens in the marketing department for the next month. And if he doesn't hire someone in time, I won't be around to answer any questions the new person might have. I would love to know what country this is that has such great employee rights, but also great for this person to know their rights ahead of time and to be able to just keep their cool while this boss is losing their head. The person just wanted a raise, and this boss ended up paying probably a lot more now than he ever would if he had just granted the raise.
Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 5. Lady at McDonald's doesn't understand how fast food restaurants work. Okay, so a little backstory. I used to work at McDonald's when I was a teenager, and I'm also deaf, but I read lips. I developed bacterial meningitis and became fully deaf at the age of 12. I can still speak since I learned to speak before I became deaf, and most of the customers I got there were very understanding. Except one. I was working at the front counter that day, as I usually did, so I was basically in charge of inside customers. This was the easiest position for me, as I could see the customers and read their lips. A middle-aged lady and her 9 to 10-year-old son walk in, and I say, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's," while signing it at the same time. She doesn't look up and is looking down at her phone, so I can't see her lips, and I can't understand what she's saying. So I explain, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm deaf, but I read lips. Can you look up for me?" She rolls her eyes, and I clearly see she says, "Why would they let a R word work the front counter?" Ooh. It was in my script, but she actually said the word, according to the story. I am appalled by her behavior, but just try to pretend like I didn't see it. I smile and say, "What can I get started for you today?" She starts to patronize me by speaking very, very slowly, which, fun fact, actually makes it 1,000 times harder to understand what you're saying. "I want a Diet Coke." Okay, is that all? And a Happy Meal toy. Now, all of our drinks are $1, no matter the size, but you have to pay for a Happy Meal toy. We don't just give them out for free. I ring her up, and she's shocked. She demands to know why I'm discriminating against her son and forcing them to pay for a Happy Meal toy. I really don't want to cause any trouble and wish I could say I told her where she could shove it, but I ended up just giving her the toy for free. I thought I had avoided conflict, but oh boy, was I wrong. I told her the total was $1.06, and after she paid, I handed her a large cup and motioned for the guy behind her to move forward. She waves a hand in my face and points to the drink cup. "Yes, ma'am. You never got me my drink." Now, I just thought she didn't see the machines behind her, so I pointed to the drink machine and said, "Oh, there's a drink station behind you where you can fill up your drink." I kid you not, she word for word said, "That's your job. Do I look like I work for McDonald's?" My jaw hit the fracking floor. I had never had someone be so rude in my entire life. I ended up telling her that when you come inside, you fill up your own drinks because of sanitary reasons. But when she kept on pushing me, I ended up just using our drive-through drink machine to give her the Diet Coke. While I'm making the drink, my coworker taps me on the shoulder, and this is the reason that this story is here. I see her son making fun of me to his mom by pretending to sign and just in general being a jerkwad. Her mom didn't punish him or tell him off. Instead, she encouraged him and started to make fun of me with him. I went to the back and ended up bawling my eyes out. I felt incredibly embarrassed and like I had made a fool of myself by having a disability. I turned in my 2 weeks' notice about a week later and haven't worked in fast food since. To everyone reading this, please be kind to people, especially your fast food workers. It's a tough job, even if you don't have any disability. And if you see people who have disabilities working and trying to make a living, please be patient and help us out by just letting us do our thing and make us feel welcome. Thank you. Yeah, just because someone is working and serving you doesn't make them any less of a human being than you are. Just because someone has a disability doesn't make someone any less of a human being than you are. These two people are just so entitled and just really out of whack in their sensibilities about human beings. Have you ever seen anybody act like this towards someone who was deaf or just working customer service? Have you ever seen that in person? What do you think?
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.